It's going to take a lot for UCF to climb back to the top of the mountain. What do they need to do over the next 5 years to make it happen? Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Charge On. As always, I'm your host, Sean Green. Thank you so much for tuning in. Episode 196, making our way to 200. We kind of just figured out when 200 is. Got a month. A month before that happens. A lot going on. Like I said, if you didn't tune in last week, you definitely should check it out. We interviewed Dante Carr, the newest UCF quarterback commit. It was a great conversation with him. But if you didn't watch it, I said I moved. So this backdrop is not going to be changed for the next month. I've kind of made that decision, Nick. I'm not changing it for the next month. We'll debut the new look for episode 200 along with a lot of other things. A lot of excitement. July 18th. But yeah, so it's going to look kind of bare for the next
I thought you were going to say, like, you're keeping up that specific shirt for the next month because you're trying to, like, put good vibes out into the atmosphere with your your American back-to-back championship shirt.
To be fair, that shirt has been, I think, since episode 1, it's been behind me.
I have never noticed.
You've never noticed? Damn. Well, I think it might be time. It might. Every time I take it down, because, like, to be fully transparent, when I go on Fox 35 News Plus for the Orlando Magic, I have to, like, take it down and I have to move, like, Magic stuff in. Every time I take it down, the dust on that thing is, like, disgustingly gross. So it's getting to the point where I think it might need to be retired. And also it's like, what, 10 years old or close to 10 years old? So enough of that.
You're just 10 years old. That's crazy.
Almost. No, it's like 8 years old.
8. Speaking of the Magic, I see you're wearing the new hat right there. Look at that. You already got the exclusive new logo, new gear already on.
Yeah, I went to that fan event. We talked about it early. I got another hat too. You know, I got to rep the future 2026 NBA champion Orlando Magic. So
you know, it's funny. I actually have a Magic, real quick before we get started. I actually have a Magic related story. Today I went golfing with a friend, and you want to know why we went golfing? And I paid for the entire outing.
Oh.
And this was a pretty nice course. And the reason why was because last summer, this specific friend is a Celtics fan. And I don't know what I was thinking, Sean, but I said, I would bet you $200 that the Magic, this was going into this past season, that the Magic would go further in the playoffs than the Boston Celtics. $200.
That's not a bad bet, though.
Of course, as fate would have it, they played each other in the first round. The Magic won, what, one game?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I had to pay that bet today.
To be fair, not a bad bet if the Magic were healthy. Like I said, I think if the Magic were healthy, they would have won. That's just my personal opinion. No
Twitter
bias.
didn't like that take.
No, they didn't, but I liked the take. I like it when Twitter is mad at me, or X, whatever you like to call it. But enough of that. Like I said, a lot of exciting things coming to the channel. I've said it every episode. I think I just keep saying it because I'm working on it constantly. So it's like I just want to kind of keep reminding people. We are, Nick, a mere 2 months away. A mere 2 months away. Players are working out right now. We have a lot of players visiting and committing. I don't want to do too many episodes of when players commit because I feel like it's now going to start happening fairly quickly. I think we'll kind of look at the commitments and landscape again next month at some point, but it is that time where podcasters need to come up with some topics to discuss. And today was one where just randomly popped in my head. And it's the UCF 5-year plan for success under head coach Scott Frost, if everything goes well. I wanted to kind of set some benchmarks, if you will, of in the next 5 years, what are some goals that UCF, if they hit those goals, whether it's like really overachieving or maybe underachieving, if they hit those goals, how will they get? They will most likely get to where they want to go, which is back atop of the college football landscape. Now, I want to point out, in 1 year, you can basically just take a massive leap. Scott Frost went from 0-12. Well, he wasn't the 0-12 coach, but UCF went from 0-12 to 6-7 to 13-0. So this isn't a perfect system here, but it is saying if it takes a little bit longer and you don't have that overnight success in 1 year turnaround, kind of some benchmarks, Nick, that you might want to hit. So should we, you kind of don't know my list. You're going to give your thoughts on it, but should we kind of get started, go through it a little bit?
Yeah, let's see what you came up with here. Let's see how wild and crazy some of these your benchmarks are.
All right. Now, I wouldn't say too crazy. I'd say realistic. All right. Year one. So this is this year under new head coach Scott Frost, new defensive coordinator, new offensive coordinator, 40 to 50 new players. So we all are going into the season like it'd be nice if you could make a bowl game, but you can't expect that. I have win at least 5 games. If you can win at least 5 games in this year, this first year, I still think it would be something positive. Yes, it's not a bowl game. If they win 5 games, it's not a bowl game. And I know that's disappointing. But with everything that they had to go through, I think 5 games is the benchmark that you want to hit to at least show that there's going to be some progress. It's one more win from last season with an entirely new roster. I also have, and this one might be a little crazy, have a top 25 offense. UCF has been known over the last 10 years to really have top 10 offense.
Well, don't say 10 because 10 years ago exactly they had the dead last ranked
Very
offense.
true. But I'd say 8. Historically over the last 10 years, UCF has had a top 25, top 30 offense. I think with Scott Frost coming in, UCF had, I think we looked at it, the number 14 offense last year. I think if Scott Frost can implement this, again, his scheme that he wants to come in and bring in, from everything I've heard, the offense is electric. They love this offense. The players love this offense. I think a top 25 offense, again, you want to at least hit that. Now, granted, like I said, that could be overachieving, but that's what I have right here. And then also in year one, top 50 recruiting. That is a big dip from where Gus Malzahn was recruiting at. They were recruiting in the top 30 basically every year Gus was there, top 20s. So I think that is a big dip back. But like I said, this year one, if you kind of hit all of those benchmarks, the win at least 5 games, have a top 25 offense, and top 50 in recruiting, I think you're setting yourself up for some success moving forward, Nick.
I think top 25 offense is a little ambitious. Actually, I think it's very ambitious because, I don't think right now we're working with the greatest, and it's nothing against the current. This is just me projecting right here, right? Because we just really don't know much about these players. A lot of the transfers that come in, there's really not a lot of good tape out there on them. You can only really go by what the coaches are saying and those who have been at practice and whatnot, and maybe some of the stuff that the players have said. But it's certainly not the talent pool I think that we've seen in previous years. Even definitely last year as well. And I think obviously as bared out by a 4-8 record, that offense was very flawed. But they don't even have the talent pool for that. And even when Gus came in first year, I went back and looked at it. In 2020, the last year under Heupel, they had the number 2 offense in college football. The first year under Gus, they were actually somewhere mid-pack, like in the 50s. So and it took a little bit for Gus, a couple years for him to get his offense. The last 2 years is when they finally got it inside the top 10, top 15, flirting with it. So I think sort of something like that takes time. So top 25 feels really ambitious. If UCF finished with, now I feel like maybe I'm I don't know if I'm setting myself up to where for them to overachieve, but I was thinking something like top 50. Is that is that too far?
My thing is, I think UCF in this first year has to prove that they are not elite, but really good at one side of the ball.
Yeah, and I would say this. I think there's a better chance of the defense being more of a well-rounded unit than the offense in year one. I mean, just strictly looking at personnel for this season, I feel like I'm much more confident in the defensive personnel than I am the offensive personnel.
So let's switch this. Have a top 35 offense or defense.
That's
or
more
top 40.
That's
top
more
40.
fair. That's more
Yeah.
fair because technically
All right.
last year they had a top 40 defense in the nation. It didn't really feel like it at times,
No.
but it did. But I think I like the talent pool on the defensive side more than offense right now because it's just more known.
Yeah. All right, then we'll switch that. For in year one, have at least a top 40 offense or defense, one of the two. And that's what I want to see. One side of the ball shows, okay, they are really good or they are going to take steps to become really good. If you both have both as average, like middle of the pack, then you're going to be an average team. And then the corresponding years aren't as bright as you would like. All right, year two. I have win at least 7 games plus a bowl win. Now, or I'm going to say plus bowl game. Just you're going to a bowl game, make it competitive. I would like to see a bowl win. That'd get you to 8 wins. But again, that would be 3 extra wins than the year before. I think at least 7 wins is what you want. I have a top 20 offense, but I think we're going to switch all these. I'm going to say if the year before we wanted a top 40 offense or defense, I'm going to say in year two, you want to have at least a top 30 offense or defense. One of the two needs to take a major step. And as we know in college football, that isn't a huge leap. To go 10 spots is not that big of a deal. Because if you looked at UCF's offense in the last couple of years, I mean, especially UCF's running attack, stuff like that, sometimes it doesn't shock you as much where you see some of these rankings. So I'm going to say have a top 30 offense or defense. I'm going to say top 40 in recruiting. So again, taking a leap, being at least top 40 in recruiting. And I have the defense as a top 40 defense. I would like, and that's what I want to see. Whatever one is not as good. So say the offense, Nick, is a top 30 offense. Then I want to see the defense as at least a top 40 defense. Whatever the worst whatever the worst, if offense is better and defense is worse, whatever the worst one is, I want them to be at least in the top 40.
Yeah, the more interesting thing you said there was from a recruiting standpoint by next year to be inside the top 40. Just to put in perspective, under Gus Malzahn, they squeaked inside the top 40 twice. And they were 38th in 2022, and they were 38th in 2023, and then 38th in 2024. So
according to On3.
According to On3's, yes. I know some other sites maybe had them higher or whatever, but point being, they squeaked inside the top 40 twice, and that was with Gus Malzahn recruiting. And that was where UCF had a little bit more shine on its program and was still seeing an upward trajectory than it is right now. But that doesn't mean they can't do it. That's not what I'm saying. I just feel like it's still top 40 just feels really, I don't know. Things would be going really, really well if by next year they got to top 40. But the point of this exercise, though, to be fair, is also how this is us laying out the path for UCF to get back to some sort of prominence. So,
and it doesn't mean they have to hit every single one of these. I'm just saying if you can hit every single one of these, it first of all probably wouldn't take you 5 years. This is a 5-year plan, but if you're hitting all of those in year 1 and year 2, most likely you're going to be on a faster track.
Yeah, and we'll see, and we'll also see with the revenue sharing, because that's gonna play a big deal in the recruiting world of how that sort of impacts it, right? So what are recruiting rankings going to look like when the playing field is a little bit more, sort of even? Is having the 25th ranked class, is that going to be a big gap between having the 45th ranked class? You know what I mean? Like, we don't really know the answer to those questions yet. But, I mean, right now, even if you look at it, currently, they're just outside the top 50, and we still have, many months to go. So they might be able to squeak inside the top 50 this year.
Well, and that's the thing, when I was looking, technically the top 50 in recruiting would be this year. If they can somehow get within that top 50. I probably wouldn't have had that originally, but I think over the last couple of weeks, seeing the momentum that they've built and some of the recruits that they're getting, I'll be honest, I didn't think they'd even get a 4-star recruit. I thought 4-star recruit days are probably going to go bye-bye for a little bit, and they just got a commitment. Now, granted, if he signs, that's a different story. But I think you are starting to see, the UCF brand might be able to, not just Scott Frost, but the UCF brand might be able to get you a couple guys that you still would have gotten in the Gus era.
And obviously you're talking about Tyron Wortham being the 4-star recruit, but even if you like they just added Al Hassan Idrisu, I'm probably butchering that name.
He's a 4-star on many recruiting sites.
He's a 4-star on many recruiting sites, and even on 3, he's just outside of 4-star status. So like he's even pushing towards that, and even sort of Kaj Baker as well.
No, exactly. So it's like they're picking up guys.
They're actually doing, like, granted, this is just 3 players, but
big time 3 players.
It's outperforming what I thought they would do.
100%.
So far.
But that's why for the recruiting, I kind of shifted my mindset where it's like, okay, you are recruiting guys that maybe I didn't think you'd be able to get right now. So in a year, maybe top 40 is being a little gracious, but I think if you can take that safe, if you can get top 40 in year 2, by the end of year 2, I think you're well on your way. But again, that might be asking a lot, but we'll see. All right, let's go to year 3. Year 3, I have win at least 8 games plus a bowl win. So that would be 9 wins. Again, you don't need to be perfect on these, but I think if you have at least 8 wins, that would be ideal. Now, some UCF fans I could totally see in the comments being like, Sean, year 1, you have win at least 5 games, which most will probably understand. Year 2, win at least 7 games. Okay. Why in year 3 are you only bumping that up 1 more? You want to be able to take more leaps. I think you have to understand, first of all, it's not a linear line. I think, yes, ultimately, if you go 5 wins, then 7 wins, you're hoping that you in year 3 can get to at least 9. But I think you have to understand this is taking step by step. It's not a linear path. I think if you can win 8 games plus a bowl win, that'd be 9. But
you have to have the context of the fact that even in the first 2 years they've been inside this conference, they've won 10 football games.
Yeah.
I mean,
like, when you put it in that perspective, it makes it look a lot better.
Yeah, like they've won 10 football games with rosters that we felt like were better than that, And I have no doubt that the conference is going to get even better, as revenue sharing comes in, you would think. And even some of the other teams we didn't really think much of, surprised us last year, now look like they're on an upward trajectory. But this stuff takes time. I think it's really, really, I think some like the Arizona State model and everything like that has made it seem like, oh, it's so easy. Look at that. They in 1 year, they're able to turn it completely around, and BYU doing the same thing. I don't think it's that easy. Whatsoever.
No, but it could happen. Like,
it could happen. It could happen, but like I think me and you both are both on the same wavelength here. We just want to see a constant trajectory, an upward trajectory. If you told me, and this would be 2027 year, where you're projecting hopefully to get to 8 wins. If you told me by 2027 Scott Frost is going to win 8 games at UCF, like, yeah, I'm over the moon at that.
Yeah,
I'm over the moon at that. I mean, we haven't seen 8 wins, in a little bit.
And I think that's to go back to the Gus era a little bit, right? When he was in the American, that first year was a struggle. They still went to a bowl game and they beat Florida, and that he dealt with a lot of injuries. Dylan Gabriel went out the first couple games, but then you saw the first 3 years. They continuously went up, right? The second year, they went up. Third year, they went up. And then you assumed when you got to the Big 12, okay, that was going to be, the time. That was going to be the change. And it didn't happen. Or, am I saying that right? Year 1 in the American, year 2 in the American, he took that next step. Because he only coached 4 years,
Year
right?
1 in the American is when they won 9 games. And then
year 1 they beat Florida in a bowl game. They didn't win 9 games that year.
So I guess that got them to 10. And then the next year they won 10 as well because
they didn't win 10. No.
Sean, what are you talking about?
I'm almost positive. First year with Gus was 2021. Dylan Gabriel got injured. They won, I think, 8 games. 8 games. They won 8.
No, they won more than that.
9 games. They won 9. I think they won 8.
That's what I said. They won 9.
You said they won 10.
No, I said they won 9.
You just said they won 10. Okay.
I was talking about 2022, which, by the way, I was wrong about that. They won 9 and they won 9 in 2021, and they won 9 in 2022.
And 2023 was first season in the Big 12, right?
Yeah, 6 and 7.
6-7. Then last season, okay,
4 and 8.
So that's what I'm saying. Gus Malzahn, first year in the American, took a step the next year. The third year in the Big 12, it was the first season in the Big 12. it was, okay, 6 games, hallelujah, that's a good first season, but then took the dip last year.
Did they really take a step from year 1 to year 2?
Now looking back on it,
Technically,
they went to the American Championship.
They played one more game and they lost it. So, I mean.
Sure. But back to this, I think if you by year 3 win at least 8 games and a bowl win would be nice. And that's kind of, you want to at least have a bowl win there. Then I'm going to say top 30 offense or defense, right? What did I have for the last one? See, I'm switching this up now as we go. Screw it. Top 20 offense or defense. Top 20 offense or defense. Because I think I have top 30.
And this is by year 4?
By year 3.
By year
3.
See,
top
I think
30
it's,
offense
I think
or
it's
defense.
I think it's maybe doable to I'm just going off of UCF's history. I mean, historically over the last 8 years, that's a decent sample size now. They have
top
been
20.
They have been able to trot out consistently just about top 20 offenses in college football. So, I could see it, maybe not this year, but I could maybe see that in 2026.
I think they can.
2027 for sure.
I personally think that this Scott Frost offense, with everything I've heard, I think this Scott Frost offense can figure it out quick. I think we originally, like we said, in this first year, have at least a top 40 offense or top 40 defense. I genuinely think that offense can be an explosive offense that is top 30 in the country. But for the exercise, by year 3, I highly expect UCF's offense to be at least top 20. But if they have at least a top 20 offense or defense by that time, we're happy. That would mean whatever the other thing is needs to hopefully be at least top 30, at least top 35. That, you want the worst of the two to be within the top 35 so that, again, that's elite teams are good on both sides of the football. And then I have them top 35 in recruiting. So again, I'm aware for year 2, I said top 40. I understand UCF does have a limit right now. I don't think they can get within the top 25. On some recruiting sites, Gus did get them within that top 30 range. I think top 35 by year 3 would be kind of, again, taking that next step in the recruiting aspect. It's only 5 extra spots.
Yeah. I'm just trying to think how realistic it is. That's all. My brain's just
and like I said, they don't need
that.
to hit all of these benchmarks. It's just, this is if you are trying to build the, I mean,
realistically, if you're winning games and you have a clear upward trajectory, this is Orlando. There's all these upgrades that are going on, on campus and everything. It looks like a war zone out there right now. I guess you could see it.
All right, year 4. See, not much happening in year 3 because, again, I made a decent enough list. All right, year 4, win at least 9 games. Now, 9 games in the Big 12 as of right now. Granted, in year 4, who knows with the college football playoff what that is going to look like. But 9 games could get you into the Big 12 championship. 9 games by year 4 could get you there. Usually it's 10 games, but who knows? Like I said, but 9 games could do it.
Isn't it crazy that before last season we were talking about potentially having a shot at the Big 12 championship, and now we're projecting year 4 of the Scott Frost era? Then we can start getting there.
Listen, to be fair, they can easily make a huge jump and get there in year 2. Who knows? But yes, that is crazy to think that we are projecting by year 4, if everything goes well, if that is
we were sold such hope.
Win at least 9 games. That is at least 9 games. That means they can win more. Doesn't mean they just have to win 9. I have a top 10 offense in year 4. I think, like I said, I'm projecting that the offense is going to take major steps. If everything goes well, I think a top 10 offense in year 4 is what you want. It's doable. This next one, and I do have them as a top 25 defense. I think, again, that's a big leap. But I think if you're competing for a Big 12 title, and if you are competing to go into the college football playoff, your offense and defense need to be in that top 30 range. You want to be able to make those leaps. The guys that Scott Frost is recruiting are going to be older at that point. And then this one is a little ambitious. I have top 25 in recruiting. So that is a huge jump. that is 10 spots in a year. But again, like you pointed out, this is again kind of betting under the new regime and seeing by year 4, they are one of the powerhouses in college football, powerhouses in the Big 12. You would hope by year 4, they can at least crack the top 25.
Yeah, I can get on. I can basically get on board with that. I mean, just in general, like for this plan, like
after year 3, it gets a little like, okay, like we'll see in 2 years how what we're doing.
It's like, again, this is a very hard exercise it's very hard to project obviously into the future, and college football is probably the hardest sport to project it specifically in.
But luckily, this is why it's not projecting necessarily. It's more so saying if you are envisioning the Scott Frost era working out.
Oh, this is just like
taking each necessary step, like not skipping a year, like actually just like it taking a little bit to build it. What are the benchmarks that they need to hit every year to like, okay, they're on the right track?
Yeah, I just hope like, let's say like this exact scenario happens and they win, let's just say they win 8 games in 2027 after winning 5 and 7 and 8 and whatever. It's like, do expectations become like, okay, now we need to get to 10? Like if they won 9 in the next year, is everyone going to go like, you know, it's just sort of, we'll cross that bridge when we get there, I suppose. You know,
I think genuinely with something like that, I think, yeah, to your point, like if year 1, he wins 5 games and in year 2, like they go on a heater and win 9. And then it's like okay, well, then he needs to win 10.
Like if they, like I wouldn't hate, or I certainly wouldn't hate. I don't think many people would, but I'd be curious to hear your thoughts. Like if they were able to get to a point, however many years it takes for, let's just say they can get to 8 wins, and then they can sort of sit around that 8 to 9 win 8 to 9 win range, and they settle in like that, and like it's like one of those things where like, okay, they're an 8-win team, they're a 9-win team, and like this is something that's happening for multiple years. And then every now and then maybe they like have a year where they pop off and they go even higher. Like that to me, like that's my ultimate goal. Like I'm not asking for UCF to somehow get to like the point where they're winning 11 games. I would love it, don't get me wrong, but I'm trying to be somewhat realistic. Like if they could somehow find a way to become an 8-win program in the Big 12 and sort of settle around that, I personally would still feel that success. And like every now and then I would like to see them pop that up a little bit higher. But that's sort of like my magic number, like moving forward, of how I would quantify success for this program in college football moving forward. And I'm not sure if that feels like a letdown for you or what.
It's not a letdown. I think I agree in the sentiment that like, I think the point is you want to get to at least a minimum of 8 games. Like you want to get to at least a minimum of 8 wins and then see where the cookie crumbles. Like I don't think we should put a limit on what UCF can do, because I do still think that UCF, we've preached for years, UCF still has so much untapped potential. They're in the Power 4 now. I think there's a lot with the college football playoff that can help them. I think with the revenue sharing, I think there's a lot that can help. I think there's a lot that is going for them. To your point, yeah, at the point that they are right now, there's a reason everybody's picking them 16th in the Big 12. They're kind of an afterthought right now. The thought process, though, is if Scott Frost can get to like your point, an 8-win football team, and then work up from there, where 8 wins is almost guaranteed. I think that's where you want to get, where it's like you get to 8 games, and that's a guarantee. And then everything else is, you know, that's how you build it. You don't.
Yeah, like I just want to find like some stability with like with the program. Like at the end of the day, I want to find some stability, and I don't mean stability of like, okay, UCF's going to win 3 games or 4 games every single year. Like obviously, I don't want that.
Yeah,
but I feel like in terms of satisfying the fan base and sort of feeling like, you know, you've hit some sort of point, just the number 8. Just something about that just feels okay to me. Like 7 kind of feels like, okay, like it could be worse, but like it feels like you're spinning your tires. 8's a little bit different for me.
I agree. Let me say year 5. And again, this is kind of where I said win at least 10 games plus the college football playoff berth, top 10 offense, top 25 in recruiting still, and then top 25 defense still. That's kind of where the thought process at. Now, to your point, like we could continue talking about this a little bit before we close it out. I think we've always said this first year is a huge benchmark year. It is a huge deal because there's no pressure to do good. Like, there really isn't. Like, if UCF went out and won 4 games again, I don't think anybody would be looking at it like, ooh, this is, yikes. At the end of the day, this is a brand new roster, brand new coaching staff. Nobody's expecting UCF to do anything.
And they might surprise us. I mean,
and again, I have said, I am confident that with the roster that was assembled and with the guys that Scott Frost brought in and Scott Frost in general, I think 6 wins is doable. I think they can get to 6 wins. I think I have picked them to get to 6 wins. I think you picked them to get to 5 wins. I think if you get to 5 or 6 wins, that's number one, the same amount of wins. If they get to 6 wins, I'll just say 6 wins. Same number that Gus got in his very first year in the Big 12, with what you can argue a much better roster. That's, again, 2 more wins than last season, with, again, what you can argue a much better, more talented roster. So I think you have to look at it in terms of that. And then if that does happen, recruits will see that. Scott Frost, 1 more year in. I think it all is leading up to UCF getting back to the top. But again, they haven't been at the top in the Big 12. It's been mediocre in the Big 12 in all facets of sports. And I think if all this money is getting pumped into football, I think you need to be able to hit some of these benchmarks in the next 2-3 years to really show that there is an upward trajectory. If you win 5 games this year, I know fans are going to be upset, but I think we will be doing...
5 is 1 more than last year.
I'll be doing whatever you want me to do, because I think that would be impressive, because nobody's expecting UCF to win 5 games. That would mean you have to win at least the 2 openers and then win 3 more games. And again, UCF's schedule isn't easy. It's never easy. But that would mean winning a North Carolina, beating a West Virginia. Like, that would be 3 of those games. And that's why I do think UCF can get to 6 wins. And then that year 2, I think if they can get to 7 wins, I think that would be a nice leap. So it's like, can UCF in the second season go 11-1? Absolutely. Any team in college football can do it. But if we're being realistic and we're seeing where UCF was left, it's not worse than 0-12. Let's get that clear. But it is more of an uphill battle. And I think if you hit some of these benchmarks, just some of them, like I said, you don't need to hit all of them. But if you hit some of them, you're setting yourself up for a successful run under Scott Frost.
Yeah. I think we're both, obviously, we hope it's a successful second tenure here in UCF. And, to your point, there's just not many people that are high on this UCF team this year, and maybe rightfully so. But I'm sure that puts you as a player, I'm sure as a player in the program, you feel disrespected perhaps by what you've seen, and you want to prove your doubters wrong. And Scott Frost, he's got a lot to coach for here. He has a lot to coach for because, I think a lot of people are basically already preconceived to think that, this is not going to work. And obviously I've had my doubts and everything, and I've publicized that. But there's a lot of people that have sort of shared that sentiment, and they don't see a path for it even happening. And to your point about, it's been, or not to your point, but in general, it's been reunion off season. And the one they're talking about more is what happened with West Virginia and Rich Rodriguez. It's like he's second in line when it comes to reunions this offseason. So he's got a lot to coach up for. If this doesn't work out for Scott Frost at UCF, there's really nothing else. He can be an assistant or he can be an analyst for sure. I'm not saying his coaching career's over, but in terms of being a head coach, this is it. This is it.
It is. I'm not going to get too deep into it.
And as I've said before, there's so much want to from this university and from this athletics program to make this work that you feel like that has to go in his favor. They're going to try to do everything they can to make this work.
For sure. And again, I'm not going to get too deep into it because, like I said, we've been doing a lot of things here at Charge On. We've been working on some fresh content, but I'll say the conversations that we've had with people around the program in the last couple weeks, if anything has given, I think Nick would agree, I think you might agree, given us even a little bit more confidence in the state of the team. I think hearing from people within the program from last year compared to this spring even, I think there's some confidence. And personally, I think 6 wins, maybe more than that. I think UCF might surprise some people. But again, we won't know until we see it on the field. Like, at the end of the day, talk is talk until you
see you in
play
week 3.
football games.
I'll see you in week 3.
We'll see you in week 3. All right, everybody. That's going to do it for this week's episode of Charge On. Please subscribe.
We shouldn't overlook week 1 and week 2. We really shouldn't, but
Jack State is there. Listen, I know Rich Rod's not there. They're dangerous, man.
I was going to say, it's not like playing, what's the team we played last year? I can't even remember the name.
You can't.
Oh, we did this last time. Was it New Hampshire, right?
New Hampshire. Yeah. New Hampshire. Please subscribe.
Like Jacksonville State's not New Hampshire. Let's just put it like that. Anyway,
I would agree with that.
Finish your thing.
Please subscribe, comment, share, do all that you do. We greatly appreciate it. Like I said, the last couple episodes, become a member. We've got some exciting stuff for members. You can get episodes like this early. We've got exclusive content coming for members in the next couple weeks or so. So be on the lookout for that. All right, buddy. This has been Charge On. We will see you next week.